Us women are being flooded with social media content advertising this quote unquote soft life full of Pilates and matcha all day, funded by a man in a way that they get to turn their brains off whenever their husbands and boyfriends are around. Then they don't have to think about or plan anything. They want a man to finance their lifestyles and to be the sole critical thinkers and problem solvers in their relationships. And the way that this is portrayed is that this is the ultimate goal or ideal way that women are going to live their best life and be the most fulfilled. To be clear, I am not targeting regular wives and mothers who are staying home to raise their children when it makes logical and financial sense, and there are protections in place for her. I am talking about this new trend of delusional women who are actively seeking out successful men for the sole purpose of becoming their dependent. Now, on the polar opposite side, there's misandrists who hate men with their entire being and have not only decentered them, but have completely eliminated them from every facet of their lives. So when you have two extremes like this, the truth or the rational way of thinking usually falls somewhere in the middle. Coming from someone who admittedly leaned towards being a misandrist, it is so easy to look back on your experiences with men and become jaded. And I guarantee you, any woman you ask has had some kind of negative interaction with a man. But it's also really easy and appealing to imagine a life where you never have to lift a finger at a man's expense. But I firmly believe you should never, ever be dependent on a man. But at the same time, you should not be walking through life carrying hatred in your heart for men as a collective either. If you're like me and you don't want to resonate with either of these extremes, let me tell you how to decenter men in a way that's going to bring you the most fulfillment in your own life. I'm going to play devil's advocate to both of these extremes and tell you why they're both damaging. First, looking for men to date just because they have money to finance your lifestyle is so incredibly dangerous. You are literally putting your future, your finances, your safety, your mental, physical, emotional well being into someone else's hands. Obviously, when you make the decision to trust someone with your livelihood, you expect that person to protect and cherish those things forever. But the saying is true that the person you marry is never the person you divorce. And that goes regardless if you ever officially got married. It goes for any couple who get together at first and then break up later. A man can and will use his income to control you and manipulate the relationship into whatever he wants it to be. And when you give up your power and you have no financial backing, you have no say in that. When you have no freedom, money, recent work history, or education to fall back on, you are making it near impossible for yourself to leave a relationship that is no longer good for you, let alone dangerous. You're putting yourself in a situation where you are stuck getting cheated on, physically abused, mentally, emotionally abused, or worse. You know the statistics out there that say the woman's biggest predator is a man, and it's usually a man that she knows, aka a spouse. Why would you ever want to put yourself in that situation? Aside from your safety, this is probably my own controversial take, but having absolutely no aspirations or goals for yourself is kind of pathetic. And it is admirable to have an amazing supportive partner who can fund your business ideas or who can spoil you with a congratulatory gift on your own accomplishments. But to want a well off man to literally parent you while you go off and get coffee and go shopping is probably a really unfulfilling life to a woman with depth. Also, chances are these handsome, successful men are going to want a woman who brings her own accomplishments to the table. The compatibility between a high earning, high achieving, successful man and somebody who does nothing all day is probably really low and probably not sustainable long term. As fully capable adults, we cannot rely on another person to take care of our every need. We need to be pursuing education, developing monetizable skills, building our social skills in different social dynamics. And if we're not actively working on these things, we are regressing in them. And of course, being a wife, mother, even girlfriend are wonderful parts of life and completely fulfilling in their own right. However, you need an identity outside of that as a woman. And I stand on that. I know that is also a controversial take. Now I'm taking my foot off of the stay at home girlfriend's necks and I'm coming for the misandrists. It is obvious that I believe that independence is paramount, but I also don't believe that completely writing men out of our lives and carrying that hate in our hearts for them is healthy either. If you've dated a man, it is very likely you've had a negative experience that impacted the way that you see them and the way that you see yourself. Realize that hatred and those negative emotions were meant to teach you something. whether that was boundary setting, ignoring your intuition, self abandonment, whatever it was, you have to learn from it and you have to heal from it. And it doesn't matter how long that takes. The ideal state to be in when it comes to dating and romance is neutral. You shouldn't be obsessed with it, but you also shouldn't be rejecting it either. And grouping all men together with that one person or few experiences you had that broke your heart is just a defense mechanism to avoid going through that same pain again. Holding on to hate and resentment in your heart is binding you to the person and the collective experiences that caused it. And doing that gives your power away to that person or those collective experiences almost as much as giving your power away being a stay at home girlfriend. Human connection, even romantic, is so critical to our well being, and you are worthy and deserving of romantic love. But just remember, whatever you project out into the universe is going to be proven to you. So if you're going about your life saying there's no good men left, you're going to meet people who are going to prove you right. Don't close yourself off completely where you don't allow yourself to be loved by someone else. Know that there are people out there with a similar moral compass and set of values as you. I know for me, I'm a loving, loyal, honest person. And for me to be the only person on planet Earth with these qualities is highly unlikely. And you could say the same thing about yourself. So now you might say, okay, Sam, I get how adopting these extreme mindsets is harmful. What am I supposed to do? To balance living your best life while remaining open to healthy relationship dynamics is to have absolute freedom, to be completely uncontrollable and unpunishable. Every decision you make in your life, including the person you have a relationship with, is coming from alignment with your authentic self and never from a place of force or scarcity or fear. Being uncontrollable and unpunishable gives you the freedom to leave whatever situation for whatever reason at any time, whenever the second you decide it's not right for you anymore. The second you smell disrespect in your relationship, you can walk right out that door and never look back. Having complete autonomy also allows you to structure your entire life down to the days in ways that are most fulfilling to you. You can get up and go to that 7 a.m. Pilates class, go home and walk the dog, and then get working on your business. You can work your 9 to 5 during the week. You can see your friends on the weekend for brunch, and you can work on your side projects. You can go start a tradition with a family member. You can start going to breakfast with your mom every Sunday morning. You should establish this full, beautiful life and then add a partnership to it in a way that complements your already complete life. It's so important not to change how you spend your time and invest in yourself when you get in a relationship. I have done this in every single relationship that I've ever been in. I always made the other person the center of my life and put myself on the back burner. In my past relationships, I stopped going to the gym. I started cooking food that wasn't the healthiest because it was what the other person liked. I cleaned a house that I didn't even live in. I didn't live with any of my past partners full time, so I was constantly driving back and forth, making my own life disorganized and chaotic. It was just a mess. I sacrificed everything on my own accord. It wasn't like I was forced to do that. There were certain relationship dynamics that if I didn't do that, it probably wouldn't have worked out. But I didn't have the forethought to say, like this dynamic isn't working for me. Maybe I should leave. I was always the one stretching and sacrificing to make something fit that didn't fit. Looking back, I realized I did this because I didn't have control over my own life and I allowed someone to come in and dictate it for me. And that created a really bad power imbalance in the relationship. What I really needed to do at that time was decenter men and focus on myself, pour all of that energy I spent cooking, cleaning, and traveling into myself and establish my own foundation and then find someone who is compatible with that. I know some of you might be thinking it's an unrealistic expectation to have your whole entire life together before you start dating someone. And I'm not saying to wait until you have it all figured out. I'm saying never make a man the reason why you don't go figure it out. No matter what stage of life you're in, don't reject the possibility of partnership, but just don't center your life around it. For example, for my younger viewers, if you're a young lady and you're just graduating college, you're 22, 23, and you get a job offer in a new city, but you have a boyfriend at home, do not turn down that job offer for the boyfriend at home. And you might be mad at me for saying this, but that boyfriend is probably not going to be your husband. The point is to never settle and never stop investing in yourself and your happiness. You have to curate a beautiful life full of fulfilling experiences so that it doesn't matter whether you meet the right person at 25 or 45. The fact that we have the opportunity to choose now is an incomprehensible privilege. And I think a lot of us forget that as women, our ancestors, as recent as our own grandmothers, did not have the privilege of living the life full of rights that we have now. Our ancestors, as recent as our own grandmothers, were forced into dependence on men by law. They couldn't have their own credit cards. They couldn't qualify for a mortgage by themselves. They couldn't have their own bank accounts until 1969. And to put that in perspective, my mom was born in 1969. So for a lot of my grandma's adult life, she couldn't have her own bank account. Some of our grandparents did have successful 60-plus year marriages, and I was fortunate enough to witness that from my dad's parents until my grandpa unfortunately passed away about a year and a half ago. And I still see my grandma struggling with his loss, as we all are, but it was just a reflection of the love that they shared through all of that time. And unfortunately, that probably wasn't even the majority case of marriages from that time, but women couldn't leave. They had to endure infidelity, abuse, all of the terrible things, servitude, misery at the hands of their husbands because they didn't have another choice like we do. And sadly, religious and cultural suppression of women still exists in many parts of the world, which makes it so much more important for us to continue to use our freedom and fight for it. The bottom line is that I need you to understand that you are in control of your own life. Build your life on your own terms and chase your own happiness. And the right relationship for you is going to fit into that life. We're meant to experience romantic relationships and connections. It's how we grow and learn about ourselves if we have the ability to self reflect. So get out there, get off dating apps, get some hobbies, make some money, and love and enjoy your life every day. Forge your own independence, leave behind what isn't serving you, and keep your heart soft. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Love you so much. I'll see you in the next video.